Today we're going to be looking at the theme decks that I had when I was a kid. So I want you to let me know, guys, what is your favourite theme deck? Let me know down below. But now I'm going to show you what theme decks I collected when I was a kid from the years between 99 and 2002. Are you ready for shredding? First up, we've got the starter set. This is where you wanted to start if you were looking to get into learning how to play the Pokemon trading card game and figuring out exactly what you needed. You know, this had everything right here. What was actually unique about the starter gift set was it wasn't a traditional 60-player deck. It was actually, and it says it somewhere, 2-player starter set. It was actually a theme, 2 30-card decks that allowed you and somebody else to just buy the one product and start playing the Pokemon trading card game with a condensed deck. Normally you would play with a deck of 60 cards. This was 2 decks of 30 cards to get you started playing the game. This came with the first edition Machamp. Every single base set Machamp was first edition. So if you're one of these people who've got cards in the loft, in the attic, in the garage, wherever, and you come across the first edition Machamp and think your quid's in, you're not. Unless it's sealed still, you know, what you've got is pretty common. It was probably the most common holographic card of the era. So next up, I have another 2 base set theme decks, and these were Overgrowth and Blackout. The Overgrowth deck was a grass and water theme deck, and the main card that you got in this from a collector's point of view was the holographic Gyarados from the base set. This box is pretty banged up, as you can see. It's actually sellotaped on the sides together to keep closed. It opens rather than from the top. This actually opens from the side here. So we'll take a look at what I've actually still got left in this. And we've got the Chansey coin, which also came in the starter gift set, which I showed on the channel. So I'm opening this here, and I think absolute scumbag that young Shreddy was, he's only left the energy cards in here, and it's not even the right energy cards or the right. I've just used this as a bloody storage box. There's some random cards in here, as you can see, some energy, but none of them actually belong to this theme deck. But there's some other bits in here. So we've got the rule book, version 3, right there. And on the back of the rule book is an advertisement for other products. So you've got the base set, blister packs there. I've actually got a Venusaur. I've shown that on the channel. And then you've got the rule book here of how to play. Oh, and look at that there. The first page I've opened, a nice little Charizard explaining the rules there. And I've got something here. So it looks, oh, look at that there. Look at that piece of art from a young Shreddy. Look at that. But that there, Overgrowth, I actually remember buying that from Kerry's PC. Well, it was before it was PC Well, but from a Kerry's shop. And I've covered this on the channel a few times. But you could literally buy Pokemon cards back in 1999, 2000. Any shop would sell Pokemon cards. And these were, I can't remember if it was $6.99 or $7.99 for a theme deck. But I remember getting that. It was I was in school at the time. It was one night, my mum and dad were looking to buy a washing machine or some crap like that. And on the end of like the tills was a display for the Pokemon cards, and I picked up that theme deck. It's interesting that the actual box art on this highlights the Ivysaur on the back and not the holographic Gyarados. Next up, we're looking at this, the Blackout theme deck. The main card in this was, as you can see on the front here, the holographic Hitmonchan, and this was a fighting and a water theme deck. So again, you open this from the side rather than the top, and this feels heavier and looks like there's a lot more in this deck than what I left in the Overgrowth deck. And there's damage counters there. We're going to pull the cards out first, and this is in a lot better condition in terms of the box. I've actually got the cards still in the plastic cellophane wrapper there that they came in. Guarantee I'll take the hollow out. So we'll take a look at what cards came in this deck. So these are all basic cards, and again, for some of the younger viewers or some of the people who are newer into collecting Pokemon. I dare say some of these cards you might never have seen before, and you definitely will never have seen some of these theme decks before. But this was a water and fighting theme deck, like I've already mentioned. Theme decks, ton of energy cards, because obviously it's what you need to actually play the game. The main cards in this deck was the Hitmonchan. There's a nice little Sandshrew there. All the cards are base sets, because this was a base set deck. Onyx there, base set. And again, these cards are all, you know, absolute mint, because they are straight out of the deck, and I've left them in there all these years from 1999. But yeah, the Hitmonchan was the main card in this deck. Got the Farfetch there. And they always did this with the theme decks, so they're building up for a Blastoise, yeah? But they don't give you the Blastoise in the deck, obviously. They just give you the Squirtles, they give you the Wartortle, and they're not going to give you a Blastoise in the deck, because they want you buying the booster packs to try and pull those better cards. And there's more energy here. But we've got the damage counters in here as well. And the Hitmonchan card was a very popular card back, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Pokemon was being played competitively. Again, you've got the rule book, and you've got checklist here, which I showed off in the starter gift set as well. I actually have one of these stuck into one of my binders, which I used to take off as a kid, and then all the others I've left pretty much untouched in the boxes themselves. Moving on next to a jungle deck, and this feels super light, so there's going to be nothing in here. And this was a jungle theme deck with a Kangaskhan as the holo card in there, and this was Psychic and Grass. I remember picking this up from Middlesbrough as a kid. It was from Game in the high street there. And whenever I used to buy Pokemon cards, especially theme decks when I was a kid, so I'm one of, so literally, there's nothing in there other than damage counters to show it felt super light. But when I was a kid, my older brother, well, one of them in particular, would always grief me when I'd get a theme deck like this, because he'd look through, or he'd see me looking through the cards that I'd get, and there'd be obviously the one shiny card, the Kangaskhan, but then there's multiple cards, and there's so many energy cards. He would just grief me for wasting me money on theme decks, which he was full of crap. Not a waste of money. So next up, we're looking at this deck right here, and this is from Fossil. So this was the third set that released, and this is the Bodyguard theme deck, and it's the Fighting and Grass type theme deck. So this came with a Holo Muck, not the greatest of cards. But the Fossil set for me was the better expansion pack. I really enjoyed Jungle and Fossil, but Fossil was the third set that came out, and I'm just trying to see what is in this box here. So we've got damage counters. We've got a cool coin in there as well, which it looks like. Have I ever opened this? Yes, I have. This coin looks really cool, and it is an Aerodactyl, which we'll get a close-up of because of the shine. That's a really cool looking coin there. But the Fossil set was the third set that released. Went base set, then Jungle, then Fossil. And for me, the Fossil set was the best one because it kind of contained the legendary Pokemon that on the games you could only, you know, capture one of. So that was the Articuno, Moltres, the Zapdos. It also had the Fossil Pokemon in there, so Omanyte, Omastar, Kabuto, Kabutops. Again, you could only get them one of each in the games. So I think for that reason, I always looked at the Fossil set as like, you know, it kind of had rarer Pokemon. It had the Aerodactyl in there as well. Not to say that the Jungle set was bad, it just didn't have as, you know, those legendary kind of Pokemon in, or legendary at least, compared to when you're looking at it in terms of the game. There's not going to be many cards in here. I'm going to just quickly skim through. So we've got the Oak Trainer, the energy cards, but this was a Jungle deck. We had the Coffin there, which was a base set card. Sorry, this is the Fossil, not the Jungle. And like I say, the Muck was the main card in this, and there's nothing really of value left. So the next theme decks that I got were actually the gym sets. So I had one from Gym Hero, which was Brock's deck, and I had one from Gym Challenge, which was Blaine's deck. The reason I got Brock's was because he's one of my favourite characters from the cartoon. Obviously he's the first gym trainer, the first gym leader in the game. One of my favourite characters because of the cartoon. As a kid with pocket money, things like that, I couldn't afford to go and buy everything. So I got this one because Brock was my favourite of the four that came in the gym leaders. So the layout of these changed a little bit from the earlier theme decks now. If you look in there, it's just literally, there's no kind of dividers or compartments or anything like that. Everything is just in the deck box. So we've got the rule book in the back. That takes me back there. The back of this rule book, the artwork there. So you got the red trainer and the Pokemon League art there. In the Pokemon League was something for like competitive play, and the closest one to me was the Metro Center. I never actually played competitively in any of those. Just too far to travel as a kid. So we've got a Starmie coin there, very sparkly. So again, I've took all the good cards out of this. The main card in this, I think it's all literally just energies. The main card, or the holographic card in this deck, was Brock's Rhydon. And we can see all energy cards there. And there's literally just a couple of trainer cards there. That are base set 2 cards. Why the hell I've got base set 2 cards in Brock's box, I do not know. But I must have just been using these as some kind of storage. Base set 2, by the way, my worst set in the Pokemon trading card game. So something that I always thought as a kid, and I remember this from way back even when I pulled a Mewtwo from the base set, was if you got a holographic card in the theme deck, I always looked at it as not being as rare, because you could easily go out and buy a theme deck and you're guaranteed to get that card, whereas the Charizard, the Blastoise from the base set, they're wearing theme decks, but the Hitmonchan, the Mewtwo, the Gyarados, and there's one more I can't think of off the top of my head now, someone put down in the comments, you go and get those in a theme deck. So I always looked at the theme deck holos as not being as rare or as valuable, but that is why I bought this deck right here. This is Blaine's deck from the Gym Challenge. And the Gym Hero and Gym Challenge sets are two of my favourite sets in the entire trading card game. Love the artwork on this. I think it was a lot of recycled older art. Ken Sugimori's art was in here, and not knowing that at the time as a kid, but I love that, like, that artist, I love that artwork, and that's probably why I gravitate towards the gym sets, as well as them having the heavy links to the anime and the games. The artwork on these is absolutely mint, and the reason I bought this deck is because it came with Blaine's Arcanine. So opening this up now, and I guarantee, well, I'm not guaranteed, I know for a fact, I'm stating it, we've just lost a coin there. I'm saying this as a fact that the damage counters flying everywhere. I've unpopped them, so I must have used this to actually play the card game with, because all of the damage counters have been unpopped, as you can see there. But the Blaine's Arcanine is one of my favourite cards in the Gym Challenge set, along with the Blaine's Charizard. But the Blaine's Arcanine is just such a good card. But we'll go through these, and again, I've just used this as storage. I've not actually got the right cards in the right order for whatever reason here, but we'll just go through. Some of the cards will be right. But the Arcanine, I actually pulled from a Gym Challenge booster box when I got back into collecting. In like 2008, it was one of the first booster boxes I bought to open on YouTube. I've still got the video somewhere, and it was the very last pack. The only card I was hoping for really was the Blaine's Arcanine, because even though I had it in my set in the theme deck, I traded it as a kid, so I was wanting to get a Blaine's Arcanine, and it was the very last card, the very last pack that I opened had the Blaine's Arcanine in, so that made the box worth it for me. So then moving on a little bit to the very last deck that I bought as a kid, the Neo Genesis Cold Fusion deck. This came with the Kingdra, which was obviously a Gen 2 Pokemon. It was the evolution of Seadra, and Neo Genesis for me was the peak. Like, the Gen 2 was the peak of Pokemon for me. I know in terms of popularity it started to die off a little bit, but for me, still being a kid, still collecting, Neo and Gen 2 was when things absolutely peaked. And the story behind how I got this was pretty interesting, because as a kid, as I mentioned earlier, you get your pocket money, don't know what those were for, and there's a metal coin in there, Lugia, metal coin, really cool. And I was in the Metro Centre, but I was wanting these Pokemon cards, was wanting, you know, the theme decks, but I bought some booster packs, so I didn't have enough money for the theme deck. And you can see absolutely class artwork there. This is where they decided to overhaul everything for Gen 2, and I've got the checklist there, which I've actually started ticking off, and we've got the rule book there for number 4, the rule book number 4. Anyway, long story short, walking back to the car, found a £20 note on the floor, so picked it up. My mum and dad said, give your sisters, got 2 sisters, give them £5 each, left me with a tenner. She already went back and got this. So again, all the good cards I've taken out of this, so we'll just quickly run through what we've got left here. But this was a water and lightning deck, and as I've already mentioned, the Kingdra was the main holo in the set. Totodile, probably my favourite, well, is my favourite of the 3 starters from Gen 2. And I think after Gen 2, for me at least, series, games, whatever, it kind of took a bit of a nosedive, and I started to turn off before Gen 3, just looking at the energy cards there, before Gen 3 came out. But that there is my entire collection that I had as a kid of theme decks. Found it in a box a couple of days ago, and I just wanted to share it with you guys here on the Pokemon Card Classic. If you've enjoyed this video, guys, please hit that thumbs up button and let me know down in the comments below which of these decks was your favourite. Is there any cards here, or is there any products here that you've never seen before? If so, let me know down below. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all of my future uploads here on YouTube. But until next time, guys, remember, collecting ain't no gimmick, it's a lifestyle.